Y pues seguimos y ahora con traducción simultánea con intérprete tenemos un invitado de lujo que viene por parte del CBP. No sé, adelante, doctor Menchaca, por favor, hacer los honores. Poquito atrasados por 4 minutos, pero seguramente vamos a tratar de cerrar ese tiempo. Yo voy a tener que dirigirme al aeropuerto, pero voy a venir escuchando toda la charla, por supuesto, durante mi trayecto. Adelante, doctor Menchaca.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, John Leonard, for accepting the invitation to participate in this summit. John Leonard is acting executive assistant commissioner of Office of Trade, U.S. Custom and Border Protection, commonly known as CBP. Thank you, John, for talking about the 21st century custom framework. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Vargas, and good evening. Buenas noches from Washington, D.C. I hope everybody is well. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm going to talk to you guys really about all of the various trade issues that we are facing with Customs and Border Protection, CBP, including the 21st Century Customs Framework, which is one of our big modernization efforts. But I thought it would be useful for the members to really hear about all of the issues that we're looking at right now, including USMCA, e-commerce, forced labor, and a number of other issues. So it's been an extremely busy time for international trade worldwide, and in particular in the U.S. You know, we're just hopefully coming out of this COVID-19 crisis. And, you know, CBP, while we did close our borders to non-essential travel, all trade and cargo kept moving without stopping. So trade was not really affected by the pandemic. However, we did see some changes that occurred at the beginning of the pandemic. Obviously, our top priority was being able to get protective equipment into the country and medicines, et cetera. And then as the pandemic got slightly better, we actually started to enforce against counterfeit items that were meant to help with the pandemic, such as counterfeit gloves and masks, as well as counterfeit COVID test kits. So that was it's been a very busy time for us in that area, and it seems now that we're finally coming out of that, or it's getting slightly better. Right in the middle of the pandemic, on July 1st, the USMCA, or the TMEC, went live, became entered into force, and now is approaching its 1-year anniversary on July 1st. And we're happy to report that that is going well, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what's happening with the USMCA or TMEC in a minute. E-commerce has always been getting busy in the last few years, and now that the COVID-19 has only increased that. We're seeing over 2 million small packages a day come into the United States from all over, a lot of it from Asia, but increasingly we're seeing more and more come in actually from Mexico. We're seeing fulfillment centers and warehouses that are set up along the border and staged so that small packages can come in free of duty and you know, be fulfilled from websites and Amazon, et cetera. So it's a really growing area, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. But it's very important for us at CBP that we talk to you guys and get information to folks that work in compliance like yourselves, and you know, whether you're an importer, exporter, custom house broker, et cetera. It's just really important that we keep the communication going. You get as much information as possible for your clients so that you know how to get goods across the border quickly, efficiently, and remain compliant. So we really appreciate opportunities like this. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our priority trade issues, and there are 7 of them. And we're soon to add an 8th priority trade issue, which is forced labor, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. But these are the 7 or 8 areas that Customs and Border Protection most focuses on in terms of our trade enforcement and facilitation. So could you bring the slide back up again? We had it up there for a second. There we go. Okay, back up. So the first one we have listed is agriculture. You know, obviously agriculture and produce, vegetables, fruits, et cetera, are a huge issue coming across the border from Mexico into the United States. We have a lot of very political issues that are growing, especially with the area of tomatoes and some other areas. But CBP works to expedite the quick and efficient clearance of agricultural goods into our country. Some of them are subject to quotas, which we administer through our automated system, which is called the Automated Commercial Environment, or ACE. And essentially the quotas allow us to bring in importers to bring in a certain amount, and then when that level is reached, then a duty or tariff will be assessed. The next area I'll mention is anti-dumping and countervailing duty. So this is a program that is meant to help U.S. manufacturers and business to be able to compete in a very, very busy, competitive international market. Many goods are brought into the United States, especially from China, that are sold at below market value, well below fair market value. And our US businesses really can't compete with that low price. So they ask the government, they ask CBP and our Department of Commerce to set a higher tariff on certain goods to kind of level the playing field. And importers who want to import those goods have to pay this extra, what we call anti-dumping duty. There are 500 anti-dumping duty orders currently that we are enforcing, and more are coming each day. In last year, in 2020, $18.2 billion worth of imported goods were subject to this anti-dumping enforcement. So that's a very busy area. The next area is import safety. So we are charged with the responsibility of making sure that goods that come into the United States are safe and will not pose a health threat to our citizens. So any good that could be injure somebody or hurt, like for instance, kids' toys, or wearing apparel, or electronic goods, they have to pass certain requirements that other agencies enforce. And CBP is able to prevent unsafe goods from coming into the country. We can either detain them or seize them, but that's a very important mission. In fact, we have a whole division that works for me called our Commercial Targeting and Analysis Center. And they work with all those other agencies to make sure that we are screening and targeting shipments that may have unsafe goods in them and prevent them from coming into the US. Okay, the fourth area is intellectual property rights, and I'll also talk about e-commerce in the same section. So as I mentioned, so much of international trade now has changed over to the e-commerce type of platform. In other words, people ordering goods online from places like Amazon or eBay, and getting individual shipments sent from all over the world, a lot of it coming from Asia. Some of it for US, some of it again comes in through Mexico and then into the United States via some of our southern border ports. But as I mentioned, the growth is incredible. We're seeing 2 million packages a day now into all of our airports, seaports, land border crossings from Canada and Mexico. And we really need to get more information about what is in these small packages. We get a lot of information for our traditional larger shipments that come in via 20-foot or 40-foot container. But for the small packages, we generally have been getting less information. So we really need to get more so we can make intelligent decisions on what we want to release or what we want to inspect. Many counterfeit shipments come in via this e-commerce method via small packages. And we are charged with preventing counterfeit goods from coming into the country. In fact, last year we made almost 27,000 seizures of counterfeit goods, everything from sneakers to luxury goods, perfumes, pharmaceuticals, electronic goods, smartphones, anything that can be counterfeited, we see. But again, CBP really works very hard to try to keep those goods out of the country, to protect our economy, to protect U.S. businesses who own the trademark, et cetera. So that's a very important mission set for us. Recently, this past year, we started 2 pilot programs that are helping us to get more information on small packages. They are actually interfacing with the e-commerce platforms, and we're getting information about what's in the package, what the good costs, the actual website location of what the purchase is. And so our officers are able to get a lot more information about what is in these small packages, so we can really expedite the safe ones, the compliant ones quickly, and then look at the ones we need to inspect. What we're going to do with those 2 pilots is we're turning them into a permanent rule, a permanent regulation, and we're actually working on that in these next few months. And pretty soon we will create a permanent rule, a permanent regulation for small packages coming into the United States. So if any of your clients are in the e-commerce business, are sending goods to the United States, I urge you to get more educated about this. Follow our website at cbp.gov and learn about how we are modernizing e-commerce and the new data elements that we're going to be requiring for any small shipment that's sent to the United States. The 6th area is textiles and wearing apparel. This is a very politically sensitive area for the United States. We still have some manufacturers of fabrics and yarns, and to a lesser extent, actual wearing apparel. Most wearing apparel, at least for the United States, is made overseas, be it in a lot of it in Asia, Central America, a little bit in the Middle East. We're just not manufacturing much actual wearing apparel in the United States anymore. Some of our highest duty rates that we charge are in the wearing apparel area. It can be as much as 40% of the value. So that continues to be an important area. And again, there's quite a lot of domestic interest in that textile and wearing apparel area. The 7th one is the trade agreements. So of course, the biggest and most important one we have is the TMEC, the USMCA, which replaced NAFTA last July. It's been in effect, as I just said, for just about 1 year. We're going to be publishing our final U.S. domestic regulations by July 1st. So that has all of the rules and policies for importing goods that are going to be claiming the USMCA free trade agreement into the U.S. We right now have quite a lot of information on our website about USMCA. And in fact, we have an entire division here at CBP dedicated to this trade agreement. It's called the USMCA Center. They are available to answer any questions that importers or exporters have, either Canada, Mexico, US. Anybody has questions about this agreement, they can email us, call us. Like I said, this USMCA Center is 100% dedicated to this this important free trade agreement for us. The big change, I would say, that and if you work with sending goods across to the U.S., and you're claiming USMCA, you know that we no longer require the certificate of origin form. For NAFTA, for the 25 years that we had NAFTA, that there was a certificate of origin that was required that the exporter had to fill out. Now we have no formal form or paper that you need to fill out. There are certain data elements that will require. However, it is not required that you fill out this form. So that was a big change for the USMCA. And all this information, as I mentioned, is on our website. And I urge you to check it out. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Okay, so that's USMCA. So the next one, and if you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, we talked about US. Yeah, okay. So I talked about the TMAC. The next one, as I told you, is going to be our number 8 priority trade initiative, is this forced labor issue. This has been a huge issue for CBP in the last 2 to 3 years. So our law changed back in 2016, which gave CBP the authority to detain or even seize goods coming into the US that were made by forced labor. So there are 11 forced labor categories that the International Labor Organization maintains. And this could be as simple as not paying your worker, that's number 1, or keeping them in debt, or preventing them from moving around, holding onto their passport if they're a foreign worker, if they're being mistreated, threats of violence, etc. All of these issues are what we call forced labor or modern slavery. And it's a huge issue. And last year in 2020, we issued 13 what we call withhold release orders for specific countries or specific manufacturers of goods that we reasonably believe were made by forced labor. So those goods can't come into the United States. We detain them at the port of entry, and the importer has 3 months to try to show us that it was not made by forced labor. And if they can't do that, they have the ability to re-export the goods, or eventually they could be seized and destroyed by CBP. So this is becoming a growing issue. It's actually part of the TMEC, part of the USMCA, whereby the Canada Border Services Agency, the CBP, and the SAT will all be subject to enforce forced labor for the trade agreement. So we're already working with SAT on this, making progress with them. But again, CBP has already been enforcing forced labor for goods coming into the United States for almost 4 or 5 years now, and especially in the last 2 years, we've been really putting out more of these withhold release orders. So again, if you have clients that have any goods, especially from Asia, but really from anywhere that there is the possibility of forced labor, you really have to look at your supply chain. Make sure that it's free of forced labor, because you have the potential, if you're exporting to the United States, of the goods being detained or even seized. We are looking at new cases every day. Currently, there is no forced labor cases from Mexico, but again, we're always looking at new cases. Most of them come from the Asia region, from China, from Malaysia, some other countries in that region. Our most recent effort was a whole entire fishing fleet from China, distant water fishing that mostly deals with tuna and swordfish and seafood like that. Any goods from that particular fleet, which is called the Dalian fleet, you can't import into the US. So that has been a really busy area for us. You know, we're always trying to innovate and get smarter, be more efficient, be able to carry out our enforcement issue more effectively. And so in doing innovation, we really look to IT to try to help us, whether it be artificial intelligence, to help us look for shipments in all the data that comes in through our automated commercial environment. We have other processes that we're looking at to become more innovative. We're actually now looking to partner with other customs administrations around the world and share information via our single window systems. So it's a very busy time for CBP. We mentioned earlier this 21st century customs framework. So that is a new effort that we are undertaking to modernize many of our older statutes and regulations. Some of these rules go back almost hundreds of years and we haven't updated them. And now, now it's a good time to really take a look at them and look to modernize. And so we're looking at several different areas within this 21st century framework, looking at our system of penalties. How can we make that more streamlined? Looking at our data input. I talked earlier about getting better data for e-commerce shipments, and we're looking to do that, as well as any type of import into the United States. We're looking to get more consistent and predictable funding for our CBP automated systems. And we're looking to be able to share information and collaborate with the trade community like yourselves more effectively. So we have a lot of information about our 21st century framework on our website, and I would encourage you to look at it. So there's just an awful lot happening in international trade now, and in the United States and around the world. It's an exciting time for trade. In the US, we're seeing our trade enforcement authority being used in new ways that we had never knew that we would be doing. I mentioned forced labor. We're looking for trade to enforce eventually environmental concerns. And so our administrations are really looking for CBP to look into to enforce quite a lot of new requirements that we hadn't previously. So it's an exciting time, and we're happy to collaborate with you. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have. If you put them in the chat box, they will be translated for me, and I'll be able to answer them for you.
Thank you, John, for this complete and helpful presentation with a lot of information. For us, it's important to acknowledge all these 8 priority issues that you have. And it seems to me that not only the word compliance, but the word enforcement that was mentioned several times during the USMCA negotiations back in 2018 and 19 are important. So I was thinking when I was hearing you about these new chapters that we have about anti-corruption, about the labor, about ecology, and we have a new idea that to get stronger, the 3 countries together against the different products that could damage our companies, our trademarks, and a lot of opportunities that could be damaged with those imports. As you were mentioned, I didn't recall exactly the number that you said about the small packages, but here in Mexico we have the same thing. Somebody by this e-commerce buy a product, and sometimes it doesn't have any instructions or who build it. So it's a common worry that we have. And the other thing that I was thinking was that on May 18, our 3 ministers get together, and now we have, as they mentioned in this number 2 decision, that we have in the common months a new uniform regulations. That means that the one that we have published in the Diario Oficial de la Federación it's going to be republished probably in a couple of months, because as you can see on the website of Secretaría de Economía, they say that the three ministers make a decision about the modifications of these uniform regulations. That means that regarding the origin of the product that is related to the clothes, yarn, and all those of products that have to be demonstrations that were made in Mexico, in the United States, or Canada. So, Monica, do we have any questions for John? We have, John, a lot of congratulations for your complete exposition.
Great. I wish I could be there in person in Mexico City. You know, I really love it. I love that city, and I can't wait till we can meet in person, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Me too. We can say that we thank you for all the Pfizer vaccines that we received in Mexico since after the presidential election, and those that are coming in this 2020. So
yeah, I hope we can get more. We just got good news. There's now a fourth vaccine in the U.S. called Novavax, and we're hoping to send that as well. So I hope we can get as many as possible down there.
Okay, thank you. I think we don't have just congratulations for you, and we don't have any more questions. If we receive some, we can contact you directly to send you. And thank you for this opportunity to highlight these 8 priority issues for CBP, and we are sure that we can comply with them and to fulfill all the commitments that we have regarding the USMCA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vargas. Good evening, everybody.
We have a acknowledgement about your participation. Please, Monica.
Great. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
The World Compliance Associations, in acknowledgement and grateful of John Leonard to participate in the first Summit Latam, the Compliance International Business, Customs, and Logistics. It's a signature of Octavio de la Torre, Jose Manuel Vargas, and Diego Cabezuela Sancho. We are persons that will participate in this WCA association.
Great. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
Yep.